Hi friends, this is a Bijou Baker. I'm Maria. I gotta tell you, I was not planning on being in the kitchen today, but then my daughter brought over all these amazing tomatoes and ginger and zucchinis over there and squash. There's no way I'm not gonna attack it now. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some sun-dried tomatoes. Uh, it's so easy, guys. You don't do anything but slow bake them. Set your temperature to 200 in the oven. I'm going to show you a quick process, and that's it. That's all there is to it, but it's time consuming. It's going to bake on low, 200 degrees, for about 7 to 8 hours, depending on the size of the tomatoes. So I'll show you how to set them up. Okay, there is a huge box of tomatoes. I am going to go for the smaller ones. You see the size difference? I don't know, can you? Not much, but enough to where it's going to affect because I've got the luxury of picking and choosing. Look at all those tomatoes. So yeah, I've got room to spare, so to speak. So, okay, so simple. Just cut them in half. Well, let's try getting a good knife. What's about that? And I'm going to just hollow out the centers. That's it. You don't want the seeds and the mushy stuff inside. At this point, you can cut them in quarters or leave them whole. I'm going to leave them whole and cut them later if I want to. So away we go. Now I want to tell you, Roma tomatoes are a better tomato to use because there's just more meat in it. You can see, maybe here better, you can see the depth of meat in that. They're a meatier tomato, and that's really what you want. Okay, then they're going to go cut side up, and I'm really going to stick them close together because they're going to shrivel up. And I have so many to do, and as I'm sitting here and I'm cutting these pieces and I'm thinking about, oh, the wonderful, wonderful choices, I think I'm going to jar some up, and you know, I'm always looking for gifts, and you know, what's better, and sun-dried tomatoes are one of my absolute favorite flavors. I'm shaking off the excess in the sink right here, so I'm trying to dry it, so of course I don't want any more than I need fluid. This is just a parchment lined cookie sheet. You can spray it, but I like the convenience of this parchment. You know me and my parchment. Tomato is acidic. I've got a cut on my nail. Yeah, they're tight in there. And again, the size of the piece will determine the amount of cooking time. Now, they're all going to shrivel and shrink up, and they're going to look like leather. That's probably the best description I can think of for that. And I'd rather have them whole, like I said, so I can do what I want to with it later. I've got 2 cookie sheets, and since I've got plenty of tomatoes, I'm going to use almost all of them just for this. Okay, and here, I'll finish the others later. I have to cut more. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper. And the salt is going to pull out the moisture. The pepper will season it. At this point, if you wanted to add some dried basil or something like that, that would be a great place to put it. I'm going to actually put basil in my olive oil that I'm going to stew this in. So I'm going to cut some more, do the second pan, and then get them in the oven. look like leather pieces, but they are dried. There's one piece here. This one is still very meaty. Good toast to it though. This one I'll probably continue to dry more because that looks burnt, but that actually is going to, it's caramelized and it's dried, which is going to be great. So these are going to come to complete room temperature, cold to the touch, and then we'll put them in our oil. I've got just about 2 cups of a quality olive oil. Now, I can't give you measurements because I don't know how many tomatoes you would want to try this with. I've got a lot of tomatoes, so I'm going to really make a lot of this. And this is what's going to cure it. So I've got olive oil. Now, you can just put the olive oil in a jar and fill it with the tomatoes and let it sit. Myself, I'm going to let it sit for about 6 months and just let it cure. But again, anytime you can add flavor, add it. So I'm going to take some tomato paste and I'm going to take some basil paste and I'm going to mix that in the oil. And again, there's not really a measurement. I'm just taking some. The tomatoes will pull the flavor from, the olive oil will pull the flavor from the cooked tomatoes. I'm just going to put half of that. All right, so it's just going to take some whisking. And it's olive oil, so it's not going to be real friendly with the combining. I probably should have put it in a bowl, but I put it in here so it'd be easier to pour into the jars. So I'm just going to keep whisking it until it kind of combines. I don't expect it to completely combine. And then when it sits, it's gonna separate anyway. So I'm just going to mix. Hold to the touch, and I'll tell you what, these right here, just as they are so dang good. It tastes like candy. So I'm just gonna, I filled my jar up, and then I'm going to pour. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna scoop in it because it's not gonna combine as well, but it doesn't mean I'm not gonna use it. So I put in the paste and the basil, and then I'm gonna fill this with oil. And I do want all of it to be saturated with that oil. Man, oh man, that smells good. So there's plenty of oil. The basil and the paste is really going to just kick it up. So when I'm ready to use this, I've already just knocked off flavor just in this right here. I'm going to continue with the other jars I have. Okay, so all those tomatoes that I cut made this little bit right here. That's all it made. I don't mind. I don't mind. I've got a ton, so I'll make maybe 3 times as much, but that's a lot of tomatoes. Now, these I'm going to can and seal them with the boiling water, and then seal the seals, and then can them. And then these I already know I'm going to give away. So the containers doesn't matter as much, but you definitely want the all the tomatoes to be covered with oil. And I'm gonna take out that air bubble. So as long as the tomatoes are covered in oil, they'll soften up and be great to use. And the extra flavor of the tomato and basil, nail that. You're gonna love this when it's time to actually use these. Look at that. Wouldn't that be a beautiful gift? And I'm telling you, the tomatoes, just as they were right off the cookie sheet, man, that was a yummy treat. So there's that. You gotta love these. You gotta love these hidden surprises and these fun treats. So I'm gonna be busy tomorrow. I'm gonna make some zucchini bread. Guess what we're gonna do? This is a great recipe. I haven't made it in far too long. So yay! Sun-dried tomatoes. There you go, my friends. This one really is super, super easy. You're just, if you have like a dehydrator, I think that's what they're called, use that. All you're doing is pulling the water from the tomatoes to get it dried, and then saturating it again with the olive oil. That's all there is. It's not dried out in the sun. Okay, my friends, until next time, happy baking.
Ah, that was fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe.